wait is finally over. It is opening night for the 22-23 NHL hockey season. Lots to get into tonight. Some more season previews for the Central Division and the Pacific Division, plus some live look-ins at tonight's games, as well as some predictions for where we think every team will finish in the Central and the Western, or Central and Pacific divisions. All that and more next on The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all things sports. Welcome on into The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Puplis. Adam Karnick has the night off. Tonight is opening night, the long-awaited opening night. We're finally here. Oh, hockey's back. Yes! It's starting to feel a little crisp in the air. Apparently there was some snow up in northern Michigan over the weekend. Getting to be everyone's favorite time of the year. Well, at least, if you're listening to this show anyways. We got 2 games going on tonight. So it's already starting with a bang. The 2-time defending, not defending anymore, but the 2-time previous champs, Tampa Bay, they're playing the New York Rangers right now, and they're tied 1-1. With goals by Steven Stamkos for the Lightning and Zibanejad for the Rangers. And that game is in the second period. We also have the Vegas Golden Knights at the LA Kings tonight at 10 o'clock. So in the next 55 minutes, we'll have another game starting. So, in the meantime, we still have some season previews to get into for the Western Conference, the Central and the Pacific divisions, as well as some predictions on where we think each team will finish the season. I have mine, and Adam has his. We did them separately, so any kind of overlap is just coincidental. But yes, let's get into it. Like we've been doing the last 2 weeks as well, we've got one issue, one burning question that we're going to feature for each team as well. We're going to start off with the Central. All right, so Colorado is your reigning defending champs. There we go. They finished last year with a 56-19-7 record. They had 119 points and a goals for 312, goals against 234. Let's see. They did have a little bit of roster changes here. Let's see who they added and who they had to sell off. The most notable one being Nazem Kadri. Nathan McKinnon signed a big contract. They still got JT Compher, Arturi Lehkonen, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, of course. Pavel Francouz looks like he's going to be the main goalie for them this year. Still have coach Jared Bednar. Nazem Kadri is now on the Flames, so he's probably their biggest loss. Lingering questions for the Avalanche. Let's see here. All right, biggest question. Who will be the new second-line center? Go back to when the Avalanche were upstarts en route to becoming the eventual Stanley Cup champions. Finding a second-line center was a problem back then. That is what made getting Nazem Kadri in a trade back in 2019 so crucial. It gave the Avs that legitimate second-line center who could operate in a number of roles, which then allowed the front office the freedom to focus on other areas they needed to strengthen. 3 years later, and a Stanley Cup later, the Avs are now trying to find Kadri's replacement. But this time, there appear to be internal candidates who could win the job. Whoever replaces Kadri as the second-line center will have to contend with the expectations he created. It appears the primary challengers could be JT Compher, Alex Newhook, or Evan Rodriguez, who signed a one-year contract with the Avs on September 12th. Compher was one of those options the team looked to before they eventually traded for Kadri. Since then, he worked to establish himself as a third-line center who scored a career-high 18 goals and 33 points in 70 games last season. Newhook was drafted 16th in 2019 with the expectation he could potentially serve as a top six two-way center capable of anchoring a line. He finished with 13 goals and 33 points in 71 games in what was his first full NHL campaign. As for Rodriguez, he scored a career-best 19 goals and 43 points last season with the Penguins, while giving Avs coach Jared Bednar another forward who could either be used down the middle or on the wing. Okay, so next up, we've got, let's go to St. Louis. St. Louis finished last season 49, 22, and 11, 109 points, goals for, 311, goals against, 242. Let's see here. As for St. Louis, one burning question. Okay, St. Louis Blues, big question. How does life look without Ville Husso? You may have noticed that there's something of a theme developing when it comes to how the Blues find a solution to replace a goaltender. Kind of like how Carter Hutton and his 17-7-3 record left after the 2017-18 season, only to be replaced by Jordan Binnington. Or how the Blues needed to find a suitable replacement for Jake Allen going into the 2021 season. Every time the Blues are faced with this question, they come up with an answer. Could Thomas Greiss be next? Perhaps that's the question the Blues will be able to answer later in the regular season. For now, the expectation is Greiss can work in tandem with Binnington to replace Husso, who is now at the Red Wings. It is just a matter of whether that tandem can find consistency. Husso went 25-7-6 with a 2.56 goals against average and a 9.919 save percentage. While Binnington finished 18-14-4 with a career worst 3.13 goals against and a .901 save percentage, another personal low. Greiss won a combined 18 games over 2 seasons for a Red Wings team that was still building towards being more competitive. His time with Islanders hypothetically offers more insight into how Greiss fares in a tandem for a team with playoff aspirations. Greiss won more than 10 games in 5 of his 6 seasons and was a 3-time 20-game winner. All right, next we got Nashville. They were 45-30-7 last year with 97 points, 266 goals for, and 252 goals against. Alrighty. Their big question for Nashville: how does Nashville build on last season and define its top 6? Retaining Philip Forsberg on a massive 8-year extension was the offseason move Nashville had to make. He'll rejoin Matt Duchene, Mikael Granlund, and Ryan Johansson in the Predators' top 6, and welcome free agent acquisition Nino Niederreiter, my co-host's favorite player name, to that group for this season as well. Forsberg, 84 points in 69 games, and Duchene, 86 points in 78 games, had career best seasons in 21-22, and along with Roman Josi's career high 96-point campaign, were major factors in the Predators getting back to the playoffs. However, the postseason is where Nashville fell apart. Starting goaltender Juuse Saros was injured, and Colorado tidily swept the Predators to an early summer. How does Nashville prevent that sort of outcome again? Well, it starts with its veterans finding similar success and figuring out who best fits in that vacant top 6 slot. Philip Tomasino is entering his sophomore season, but may not be ready for a full-time jump up. Tanner Jeannot had a strong rookie showing on Nashville's third line, and will definitely get a look too. Eli Tolvanen could be a contender as well. Bringing Niederreiter in certainly gives coach John Hines more options to mix and match. Striking the right balance will be key for Nashville to improve on its past accomplishments. Okay. Now we've got Minnesota. Last year they finished 53-22-7 with 113 points, with a goals for of 310, goals against 253. One burning question: Who could step up and help strengthen this top 9 forward group? Kirill Kaprizov went from 51 points to 108 in his sophomore campaign. Marcus Foligno had never scored more than 26 points in a season, yet scored 42. Frederick Gaudreau quadrupled his career high of 10 points to score 44, while Ryan Hartman had more goals in 21-22 than he had in his last 4 seasons combined. Mats Zuccarello did something similar by scoring more points last season than he had in the previous 2 seasons combined. Having that particular quintet replicate, if not exceed what they did in 21-22, would help the Wild, especially now that Kevin Fiala, along with his 33 goals and 85 points, is with the LA Kings. This is what makes the Wild so intriguing, beyond the 5 players who set career highs. It is a team that will seek to capitalize off the continued growth Matt Boldy showed during his rookie campaign, when he scored 15 goals and 39 points in 47 games. But Boldy is not the only player whose contributions could prove crucial. A number of forwards, such as Tyson Jost and Sam Steele, are also expected to push for top 9 roles. So is Marco Rossi. The Wild drafted Rossi with the 9th pick in 2020. Excuse me. With the 9th pick in 2020, with the aim he could someday become a top 6 scoring option after scoring 39 goals and 120 points for the Ottawa 67s in the OHL during the 19 and 20 season. Rossi was limited to 5 games in 2020-21 because of COVID-19 complications, but would return to score 18 goals and 53 points in 63 games for the Iowa Wild in the AHL a year later. Okay, next up is Winnipeg. They finished last year 39, 32, and 11 with 89 points. They had a goals for of 252, goals against of 257. Big question. Can Rick Bowness get the right buy-in? When Paul Maurice excused himself from Winnipeg's head coaching post last December, the Jets were underperforming and in need of, quote, a new voice, according to their departing bench boss. Dave Lowry filled in. Winnipeg missed the postseason, and visibly frustrated top players like Mark Scheifele publicly questioned what direction the Jets were headed in. Turns out they were flying towards veteran coach Rick Bowness. His first big decision was stripping Blake Wheeler of his team's captaincy, paving the way for a leadership by committee approach. On the ice, he'll aim to steer these Jets into calmer skies by cultivating a hard-to-play-against mentality that leaves room for creativity. Winnipeg struggled defensively last season as well. They were 13th in goals against, and a traditionally defensive-minded goal coach like Bowness will emphasize a 200-foot game from everyone, star skaters included. Will that be enough to satisfy a disappointed group in Winnipeg that's too often falling short of its own expectations? Successful teams are built on good structure. Bowness has 33 years of experience in hockey to lean on. He'll tap into all of it to design and implement the right plan for Winnipeg, one that he hopes can turn some frowns upside down in the dressing room. All right, let's get a score check, and then we will take a quick break here. At the end of 2, it is still Tampa Bay 1, New York Rangers 1. You're listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be back.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris, the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What is going on, everybody? This is Ben Matello, the host of the Yinza Report, right here on IE Sports Radio. I'm bringing you the latest in the Steel City, the City of Champions, from the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates, as well as the college game with both Penn State and Pitt. You could join me every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, where I'll be talking about everything from the Steel City, the City of Champions, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back to the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Puplis. Adam Karnick has the night off. Before we get too far into the night, we want to thank our Patreon supporters. Our Patreon supporters are Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. All right, let's continue with the Central Division preview. We made it to Dallas, who last year finished 46-30-6. They had 98 points. And they had goals for of 238, goals against 246. Okay, lingering questions for Dallas. Big question. When does Jason Robertson re-sign with the Stars, and what could his next deal look like? Excuse me. Ideally, the Stars would want to re-sign Robertson before September ends or at some point in early October. The challenge, however, appears to be in finding something that works beyond the 2022 to 2023 season. Cap Friendly projects the Stars to have a $6.335 million in cap space this season, while being projected to have $29.26 million ahead of the 23-24 season. Anton Khudobin and Joe Pavelski will be pending unrestricted free agents who cost a combined $8.83 million in cap space, while Denis Gurianov and Rupe Hintz are pending restricted free agents who will also be in need of new deals. These are all factors that could be in consideration when it comes to creating a framework for Robertson's new deal. It amounts to Stars GM Jim Neal and his front office staff managing cap space in a way that allows the franchise to re-sign a 23-year-old winger who is averaging 0.98 points in 128 games, while potentially having the flexibility to retain others. As for what could happen, it is possible Robertson and the Stars could do a bridge deal as a temporary solution with the plan of establishing something with more term and money. But that also comes with the possibility Robertson continues his trajectory and potentially raises his asking price when signing him earlier might have cost slightly less. Okay, 2 more left. In the Central, we got Chicago up next. They finished last season 28, 42, and 12 with 68 points, with a goals for of 219 and a goals against of 291. One lingering question for Chicago. How do Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews fit into the rebuilding Blackhawks? Kane and Toews don't necessarily want to leave Chicago. It's possible neither player will, but the idea of a 5-year-long rebuild isn't appealing either. It's become increasingly feasible that at some point this season, one or both could be sporting new sweaters. Because the Blackhawks appear headed for a nosedive so hard into the ground that they could earn the right to draft Connor Bedard first overall in June. Does keeping Kane and Toews get in the way of that? Kane put up 92 points last season, albeit alongside Alex DeBrincat, who has since been traded to Ottawa. Toews is still a viable two-way center, even while not producing the same scoring numbers as at his peak. There's a market for those players' services, and whether Chicago opts to really explore that will be the Blackhawks' all-encompassing storyline from now until either a trade happens or the deadline passes. Kane and Toews mixed it up, sorry. Kane and Toews have no full movement clauses, of course, or have full no movement clauses. There we go. So any deal would have to be approved on their ends. Chicago wouldn't have been the dynastic club it became in the 2010s without their contributions, and a perfect world might allow both to enthusiastically end their careers as Blackhawks. But what if the right offer comes along? An opportunity to chase another championship rather than plod through more of a multi-year overhaul. Could ultimately be too good to let slip. And last, and probably certainly least, as we always like to pick on them lovingly, are the Arizona Coyotes. Finished last season 25, 50, and 7 with 57 points, goals for of 207, goals against 313. Burning question: how competitive can the Coyotes actually be? There's been more than enough focus on where Arizona is playing this season and what sort of experience that 5,000-seat facility at Arizona State University is going to provide for players and fans alike. But what about the on-ice product these Coyotes will offer? GM Bill Armstrong has gone all in on rebuilding this team from the ground up. With the draft capital, 31 picks in the next 3 years, and up-and-comers to prove it. However, the majority of those players just can't help make the Coyotes better right now. What sort of team will they be? Arizona has its core foundational players in the likes of Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Christian Fisher, and Lawson Cruz. Karel Vejmelka will enter his second NHL season as a Coyotes projected starter. And at least for now, there are some veteran defenders patrolling the blue line in Jacob Churchrun, Shane Gostisbehere here, and Troy Stetcher, although who remains post-trade deadline is anyone's guess. After that, Arizona's forward depth is too many 30-plus skaters like Andrew Ladd, Zach Kassian, and Nick Bjugstad, and their back-end options drop off sharply. There's an obvious emphasis on the long game for Arizona, both with its living space and its roster construction. How much that approach is affecting the Coyotes' present will likely become quite clear quickly this season. Okay, so for the Central, I have the finishing order: Colorado, St. Louis, Nashville, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Dallas, Chicago, Arizona. And Adam has Colorado, St. Louis, Minnesota, Dallas, Winnipeg, Nashville, Arizona, Chicago. Wow. The Chicago man himself has Chicago last. That's saying something, man. But we both have Colorado at the top, which, no big surprise. They're the defending reigning champs. We both have St. Louis in second. Probably, consistent playoff team, over the last decade, last half decade, whatever. Minnesota, he's got third. I've got Minnesota fourth. He's got Dallas higher than I've got him. I've got Winnipeg higher than he's got him. Oh, nope, just kidding. We both have Winnipeg at the same spot. And then, so basically, yeah, he's got Nashville in the bottom three, and I've got Dallas in the bottom three. That's the only other big change. Okay, cool. So, let's check on the game. We are a few minutes into the third period, and New York Rangers are up 2-1 on the Tampa Bay Lightning. The one goal by Tampa Bay was Steven Stamkos, and the two goals by the Rangers have been Mika Zibanejad. He is one goal away from a hat trick tonight, so we'll see what happens. Igor Shesterkin for the Rangers so far has 18 saves and one goal against, save percentage of .94%. Vasilevsky for the for the Lightning has 34. Shots against. I'm sorry. Shesterkin has 18 shots against, one goal against, for a .944 save percentage. Vasilevsky has faced 36 shots, given up 2 goals, and has a save percentage of the same, the .944. Okay, so then later tonight, we've got the Golden Knights and the Kings at 10 p.m. Coming to you from LA. So 17 minutes away till that game. Some other fun, quick hits and fun facts for the, regular hockey fan who may not have paid all that much attention over the off season. Calgary Flames forward Johnny Gaudreau was the biggest prize of the NHL free agency, as the winger was coming off a 115-point season and a fourth-place finish in MVP voting. When the 29-year-old told the Flames he wasn't returning for another contract, many believed the South Jersey native was destined for the Flyers or the Devils. But the Flyers couldn't move enough money from the cap to sign him, and Gaudreau picked a surprise suitor over the Devils, the Columbus Blue Jackets, who signed Gaudreau to a 7-year deal with a $1.75 million average annual value. This decision began a chain reaction of events back in Calgary. Forward Matthew Tkachuk, who had 1 year left in his contract, informed the Flames that he also wouldn't sign another contract with the team. GM Brad Treliving, determined to keep the Calgary in Stanley Cup contention rather than rebuild, traded the 24-year-old Tkachuk to the Florida Panthers for star left winger Jonathan Huberdeau and defenseman Mackenzie Weegar in a rare NHL blockbuster sign and trade. Tkachuk inked an 8-year, $76 million extension. The Flames convinced Huberdeau to sign an 8-year contract extension, $10.5 million average annual value, and are working on a new deal with Weegar. Finally, to replace the scoring and edgy play that left with Tkachuk, the Flames signed Colorado center Nazem Kadri to a 7-year, $49 million free agent deal. All because Johnny Hockey packed his bags for the U.S. Other teams making big moves. So some teams leveled up in the offseason with roster reshaping moves for skaters, like the Ottawa Senators made the biggest noise, signing former Flyers captain and local hero Claude Giroux to a 3-year deal and trading for Blackhawks star winger Alex DeBrincat. Or as Adam would say, stealing Blackhawks star winger Alex DeBrincat. The Carolina Hurricanes added some veteran savvy to their group, trading for Shaggy Sharks defenseman Brett Burns, Vegas goal-scoring winger Max Pacioretty, and then signing Jets forward Paul Stastny. So they're going to have all kinds of new faces over there in Carolina this year. And it's just one more Sharks player leaving the Sharks after Joe Pavelski and others. LA Kings acquired winger Kevin Fiala from the salary cap-strapped Minnesota Wild and signed the 26-year-old winger to a 7-year contract extension. And the Red Wings signed free agent Ville Husso, free agent Blues winger David Perron, Rangers center Andrew Kopp, Blackhawks forward Dominic Kubalik, and Panthers defenseman Ben Chiarot. Rangers signed former Carolina center Vincent Trocheck, while former center Ryan Strome signed in Anaheim. The Ducks also made a splash by getting former Dallas defenseman John Klingberg on a 1-year deal worth $7 million. Forwards Mason Marchment, Dallas, Andre Palat, New Jersey, Nino Niederreiter, there he is again, Adam, Nashville, Max Domi, Chicago, and Andrei Burakovsky, Seattle, all moved via free agency. Among the free agents that decided to stay where their stuff is located, Evander Kane, Edmonton, Philip Forsberg, Nashville, Ricard Raquel, Pittsburgh, Riley Smith, Vegas, and Colorado's Josh Manson and Valeri Nushkinen. Finally, and perhaps the single greatest marriage between player, venue, and moment, Phil Kessel will attempt to set a new record for most consecutive NHL games played in the poker capital of the world, signing a one-year deal with the Vegas Golden Knights. He's at 982 straight games, needing 8 games to pass Yandle. Meanwhile, we got the coaching carousel. 11 teams that made coaching moves in the offseason. Some of them were domino effects. Boston Bruins fired coach Bruce Cassidy and hired former Dallas Stars head coach Jim Montgomery. Cassidy was hired by the Vegas Golden Knights to replace Peter DeBoer, who took over the Dallas Stars after they moved on from Rick Bowness. Winnipeg Jets hired Bowness as their new head coach, while Paul Maurice, who stepped down from the Jets, took over the Florida Panthers from Jack Adams finalist and interim coach Andrew Brunette, who is now an associate coach with New Jersey. You got all that? Meanwhile, Luke Richardson, Chicago, Derek Lalonde, Detroit, Lane Lambert, New York Islanders, replacing Barry Trotz, and Martin St. Louis in Montreal were all given their first official head coaching gigs. Former Rangers coach David Quinn signed on with the San Jose Sharks. Finally, in the move that everyone expected, John Tortorella left the ESPN studio behind to move back behind the bench, bringing his former brand of whimsy to the Philadelphia Flyers. About this time last season, Adam and I talked about Alex Ovechkin and what kind of story he would bring for the year. He scored 50 goals for the 9th time in his career to tie an NHL record, but it's another record he continues to have in his sights: Wayne Gretzky's NHL career mark of 894 goals. Ovechkin sits third all-time with 780 goals and has a chance to pass the legendary Gordie Howe this season. Gordie Howe had 801 goals. We talked about this a little bit with Chicago. Next moves for Kays and Tane. I did it again. Kane and Tays. Chicago Blackhawks are in full-on rebuild, while franchise stars Patrick Kane and Jonathan Tays are entering the final years of their contracts ahead of unrestricted free agency. Both have trade protection, and neither one has indicated their intentions for the future. Expect a robust trade market for Kane, with the New York Rangers and a potential reunion with Artemi Panarin the focus of much preseason speculation. We also talked about Arizona to ASU. Sometimes when you're kicked out of your home, you have to downsize on the next one. Hence, the Arizona Coyotes will play at least the next 3 seasons, with an option for a 4th on their campus of Arizona State University after their 19-year run in Glendale ended, when the city opted not to renew their arena lease. The perfectly named Mullet Arena will also house the school's Division I men's hockey team. The Coyotes paid for improvements to the arena, including NHL-level locker rooms and training areas. The ASU move comes as the Coyotes wait for approval on a new arena project in Tempe, whose decision is expected this fall. Mullet Arena will hold less than 5,000 fans for Coyotes games, making it one of the most intimate venues in NHL history. While it's expected Arizona will take a massive revenue hit, the Coyotes expect to sell out every home game and say their season ticket revenue has surpassed what they were generating in their former home in Glendale. The Kraken are in their sophomore season, and they are getting a mascot. Creating a mascot in the post-gritty world is a tough assignment. The Seattle Kraken took on the challenge with their first plushy friend, Bowie, a 6-foot-tall, furry blue troll with an anchor hoop earring dangling on his left side and a blue tentacle hanging from his right ear. His backstory is that he is the nephew of the Fremont Troll, the iconic Seattle sculpture that inspired his creation. An NHL mascot that doesn't just troll opponents, but is an actual troll, Gritty would be proud. Love it. Getting into advertising. As you all know, with the pandemic, games were canceled. People couldn't go to the games. So there's loss of ticket revenue, loss of ad revenue, loss of TV revenue, all the above. So they're trying to, squeeze every ounce of juice out of any form of, revenue this year, advertising, tickets, etc. So yeah, seeking to tap into every revenue stream that it can, the NHL has made two big changes in how it displays advertising during games. The most divisive one for the fans was the first ad logos placed on NHL player game jerseys in the league's history. They'll fit into a 3 inch by 3.5 inch space on the sweaters, either on the front or on the shoulders. There were some restrictions on what sponsors can advertise on the players, including geographic restrictions on sports wagering companies. While fans can buy official and replica jerseys without the ads on them, many teams were only selling official jerseys with the ads at team stores. The NHL expects the majority of its teams won't start the season with ads on jerseys, but expects to change by the 2023-2024 season. Meanwhile, the NHL is revolutionizing the way it presents ads during broadcasts. The NHL is debuting digitally enhanced dasher boards for all games this season that will erase and replace the advertising found on arena rink boards with virtual ads on broadcasts. The DED system allows for the digital replacement of camera-visible arena dasher boards within local, national, and international NHL game broadcasts. While overlaying other ads on the boards will be its primary function, the DED system eventually will allow broadcasts to use the boards for everything from in-game stats to special effects for goal celebrations. Quote, "When you're in the arena, you won't see any change. When you're watching at home, you won't know the difference," said Keith Wachtel, the NHL's Chief Business Officer and Executive Vice President of Global Partnerships. Finally, the next, quote, generational talent in hockey will be the prize of the 2023 NHL Draft. 17-year-old Connor Bedard of the Regina Pats of the Western Hockey League. Some NHL teams already have rosters that seem, shall we say, less than competitive in anticipation of increasing their draft lottery odds. So tank hard for Bedard. All right, lastly, ESPN has their picks for the Stanley Cup champ. Let's see here. For their totals, they've got 8 people picking the Avalanche to repeat, 6 choosing the video game number posting Edmonton Oilers, 5 who are picking the Hurricanes to win it all, 4 for the Rangers, 3 for the Flames, 1 for the Blues with Johnny Hockey, 1 for the Panthers, and 1 for the Maple Leafs. So we shall see how the season pans out. One last check on the score here tonight. Oh, it is now 3-1 Rangers over the Lightning with just under 7 minutes left in the third. And the Rangers, let's see who scored that. Barclay Goodrow, a former Lightning player. So, looks to be a lively game in... Where's this one taking place? I don't even know. Oh, in New York. Tampa Bay needs to step it up, though, if they want to they want to keep it close. But anyways, we are going to head out for the night. I want to thank our Patreon supporters one last time. Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. I want to thank Larry and Taryn and everybody with the channel, with the station. And we will be back next week for some more fresh 2022-2023 hockey season coverage. You've been listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. For Adam, I'm Zach. Everyone have a good night. Stay out of the boards, stay out of the penalty box.